to the Financial General Purposes Committee, rescheduled from last Wednesday. Start with apologies.
We have apologies from Councillor Ara, work commitment, Councillor Crittenden, personal commitment, Councillor Hetherington, work commitment, Councillor Huxley, personal commitment, Councillor Nixie, personal commitment, Councillor L. Piper, personal commitment, Councillor S. Piper, personal commitment, Councillor Rozecki, personal commitment, and Councillor Young, personal commitment. No apologies received from Councillor Knight.
Thank you. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest?
No.
Item 3 is minutes. To approve the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Financial General Purposes Committee held on the 4th of April. Minutes 066074 as a true record.
I propose accepting the minutes, Chair.
Seconded.
Seconded. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item 4 is allotments. To receive a written report from Miss Elfidler, Town Clerk, and consider the quote contained therein for CCTV installation at the Chiltern Lane East and West allotments. Thank you.
The Council has previously resolved to install CCTV at this site, and this was a decision made, I think, at one site in 2019, at one of the sites in 2020, and unfortunately the matter hasn't progressed. I think the lead technician had hoped to do it himself, but it hasn't made its way to the top of the priority list. So we tried to get a quote from 2 electricians, because CCTV can quite often be handled by an electrician, and unfortunately no one was jumping at the work. So we've now gone to the classic local CCTV provider, Guardian, and their quote is in front of you.
Does anybody wish to?
Yeah, questions really. Have we had much issues in relation to the allotments, the damage, theft, or any other antisocial behaviour on our allotments? That's one. 2, should we decide that this continues to be installed, who will view these? How would that be operated? So where would that go to? Would we try and get the Thanet District Council to look at and view our cameras? I think that just those 2 just need to know.
Unfortunately, with regard to the number of incidents of crime, antisocial behaviour, vandalism at the allotments, it's not something that I'm afraid I'm fully briefed on. I do know that there has been problems. There are things that the police have been involved in, and it's a mixture of in-house issues and people from outside causing problems, particularly on one of the sites with regards to our allotment site rep.
Right. Yes, I remember that.
And the system quoted for, which was the most reasonable methodology, it's not going to be via Wi-Fi. It will be a static camera that records for 1 week at a time, and then it overwrites itself.
Right.
And the only people that would be able to access that is Ramsgate Town Council. The police TDC will be able to request that information from us, but we would be the sole organisation able to access and do it. If we wanted to go down a route of using Wi-Fi, that's an additional cost for getting Wi-Fi.
Again, Chair. Sorry, if anyone else was.
Well, it was just me. So the storage of images will be on site, will it?
Yes.
Is that not vulnerable to, I mean, CCTV systems are attractive items in themselves. Wouldn't that not be vulnerable to theft, of the equipment?
So I understand, so we have our own electricity supply, and I believe that everything would be mounted high up, that the whole kit would be.
Chair, I suppose what's in the back of my mind is that I would have thought the majority of, if there were going to be any theft or anything like that, would be at night time. Is it lit? I'm probably certain that the allotments are not lit at night. So CCTV of that nature is pretty worthless, to be quite honest. So that gives me cause for concern that we could spend out on this equipment. And even with Thanet District Council's one, which is brilliant, I have to say, having seen it and been in there when they can zoom into a ship off the coast, and see everybody walking about on it, is amazing. But they've got a hood up, they've got anything on, you cannot identify. Sometimes just a lane CCTV camera in itself is a deterrent, with a sign saying this area is covered by CCTV. But I think what I would ask, Chair, is that if we, before we enter into any monetary agreement, I think we would want to see, or I certainly would like to see, what the camera, what you can see on the screen.
Quality of the imagery.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Quality of the screen. Because I think that's important, and certainly in the dark, and if with some where you might only have a bit of street lighting that's off and out of the site. What I suppose where I'm getting at, Chair, is that I don't want us to spend money on something that's going to be a lame duck.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. Also looking at the security of the system itself.
Our CCTV has a light that comes on which detects movement, which gets rid of your problem. But if we were having a dummy one, we could just have a light, a movement sensor light, instead. And I think it's you're legally obliged to put up a notice.
Yeah.
If you're ever going to use that evidence, you've got to put up a notice. That's all.
Yeah.
Did we, when we drew up the plans for the CCTV, did we actually engage with the police to ask their advice on how we can make the site safer and more secure? And also the fire brigade offer quite a good advice after witnessing that fire. They're two bodies that might be able to give us some advice, particularly on other measures that could be taken on top of potential CCTV, and also some advice in relation to CCTV and where it should be positioned. So that it might be useful gaining some additional advice from them. I know the police said that on our street, the best way that residents can help with fighting crime is to fit a Ringo on your door that does recording, because it provides them with evidence.
But that stores off-site, doesn't it?
It depends I think it depends what level Ringo you've got and whether you have a subscription. It's a similar thing. I think if you haven't got a subscription to Ringo, then it just stores over a period of time, but even that's quite useful if there's been a serious incident.
If any conversations with the police or the fire brigade have happened in the past, there's no record there now. Or it may be that my colleagues do, but I'm afraid I don't.
Yeah.
Would it help if I undertook to investigate further and bring it back to the committee?
I think that would help, yeah.
Because a guy called Evan something at TDC, Evan?
Oh, Eden,
Eden Geddes.
Eden Geddes, that's right. Now, he's putting, I'm not sure whether it's 5 or 7 around the town. So I imagine they've done some research into what's good and what isn't.
This is the Safer Streets money.
oh yeah, well, they will, sorry, Chair, they will be hotspots in relation to crime.
Crime.
No, yeah, I know, but he may have
That's a-
decided
Yeah,
what is the best one to
Kit,
have.
yeah.
What's the best kit? And also, you know, does this need servicing or looking after
Running costs.
running costs?
councillor Austin.
I understand that Chris Gunn at TDC is now the person in charge of the CCTV from the neighbourhoods team. He was part of our skate park committee originally, and we worked with him on that, and he was extremely helpful.
yeah, good luck.
Recommend him as a good officer and very helpful and very prompt in coming back to you with, if you have questions.
We'll seek advice from TDC. So, okay, is that
I would second that.
enough?
You need a recommendation?
Yeah, I guess we do.
So I propose therefore that councillor Green, we don't accept the recommendation this evening and that councillor Green does more investigation into it.
We thank councillor Green for offering to do so.
Yeah.
I would second that.
Yep.
Next item then.
Oh, hang on, all of us in favour?
All in favour, thank you. Next item then is Climate Change Working Group. Consider the proposed changes.
Sorry, item 5.
Sorry, item 5, my mistake. Item 5 is budget update. To receive a written report from Ms Alfidler, Town Clerk, regarding the staffing budget, utilities, and the 2023/2024 budget.
Oh,
Town Clerk.
different email.
Thank you, Chair. So this report follows a request from the Chair for updates on these matters, and with regard to staffing, there was quite a lot of over budgeting in the 22-23 budget, intended to cover whatever the recommendations of the local council consultancy service review was. The table before you now shows you what the approved budget was, minus the staffing costs following that review, adding in the town sergeant, who hopefully appointed in July, and also the National Joint Council salary increase to be confirmed. There is still an over budget of £55,000 in the salaries budget. Before that is considered for wiring to elsewhere, I would suggest that a small amount remains in staffing for contingencies in the year. With regard to utilities, our utility broker has confirmed that the electricity contracts run until September 23, with gas running until 2024, and we are locked in at the price. However, it may well be that next year we're looking at doubling, if not more, the gas and utility bills for Bradford House and Custom House. And also that for budget setting at 23-24, to note that there are going to be rising costs outside of the council's control, business rates to be covered on a later item, gas, electric supplier costs, and if the council wishes to keep the precept the same as the current year, savings will need to be made or income increased. A decision on how that is going to be achieved doesn't need to be made now, but for members to have in their mind to be thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, my reason for asking for this was because I was aware that there were contingencies in this year's budget that could probably meet any increases in costs that we're likely to receive. But I received notice about the rents and rates that we're going to deal with later in the meeting. Also, reports in the press that we're probably looking at over 10% cost of living increases, and of course energy costs and petrol also large increases. So I thought it suitable to warn councillors now that when we come to set in the precept for 23-24, we're going to have to look for savings in probably all of our existing budgets, unless we want to impose a large increase in the precept. Councillor Alban.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have to say that certainly dealing with our residents in our wards, a lot of them are really, really struggling.
Yeah.
And whilst any increase in the precepts will probably be small, but I still think now I think we'd have to consider not putting it up, and I'm with you on the fact that we should stringently look at the budgets and how we're spending them, our residents' money. I certainly can I just ask the question, and the resolution, item number 2 says we're asked to consider if any funds from the staffing budget should be wired for use elsewhere. Are we likely to have an underspend in that regard?
So at the moment, we're due to have an underspend of £55,000. But I'd possibly recommend caution about deciding to spend all of that elsewhere straight away.
The national negotiators are talking about a 5 or 6% increase.
I wasn't going to suggest do anything with it, but I do think that that needs to be in the pot as well for that. So, Chair, I would make a motion that we should accept the resolution. Items 1 and 2.
Do you want to read them out?
Resolution 1, councillors are asked to note the information above, and then councillors are asked to consider if any funds from the staffing budget should be wired for use elsewhere.
So that is that if there is an excess, then that can be used elsewhere, especially in relation to the running of for our electricity, gas, etc.
Running costs.
Yeah. You always come up with the right words, Trish.
English teacher.
So you're proposing that we do that now?
Yes.
We bar it now? How much?
No, sorry, I was just, if it should be, because it says.
It should be required.
If it should be.
Should be required.
Okay. So we're just noting that we could do that.
Yeah.
All those in favour? Thank you. Okay, item 6 then is the climate change working group, which is to consider the proposed changes, the purple text, to the terms of reference for the climate change working group. And a suggested amendment from myself, the red text. I should just say that the two recommendations are virtually the same in content. I just wanted to emphasise that we're inviting the working group not only to look at the council's own performance in terms of climate change, but also whether we can influence, how much we can influence the area that we cover as well. I thought it worth separating the two.
With regard to the purple changes, some of these represent amendments that have already taken place. For example, the group was previously going to report to the Amenities and Environment Committee. This should be changed to the Finance F&GP Committee. Also, there was 4 councillors who originally volunteered to be on this group. They had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, prior to bringing in our members of the public, and it was recommended that membership be opened up to all councillors and members of the public, not have a set number of people.
Excuse me, Chair, could I just add, I don't mean all the members of the public, do they?
Not all at once. Open to it, that doesn't mean approved.
Does the working group have a chair of those 4 members?
Not yet.
Well, it obviously needs one if it's a sort
I think
of
that's-
random
It will,
selection
yeah.
of people.
Town clerk will cover that.
Yeah.
It's a random selection of people.
So when the group met, it was discussed having a rolling chair being appointed by the group instead of a set person.
Agree.
Remember the public.
Oh, did we agree that that chair could also be a member of the group, which is a member of the public as well, which I thought was really important for us to not suggest that we're the power base that try and, it's partnership, it's that whole citizens committees which have been proved to have worked all around the world, actually.
I mean, I personally would be content for the group to elect a chair. I don't agree with having a rolling chair.
I don't know what the purpose of that is.
My experience is that it's better to have
A chair
a
and
chair.
a vice chair.
I don't think you could have a rolling chair that rolled round every week, could you? The chair would have to be there for a period of time, and I would imagine 6 months to a year would be
Until the group wants to change it a bit.
till the chair
So
gets.
they got until the end of April, and
Yeah, it's a year for us, it's not a year for the committee, isn't it?
Anybody else wish to?
I propose.
So what's the
Proposed.
recommendation?
I was just going to say, I like the suggestions that you've added, Chair, and I'd be very happy with seeing those approved.
Is that agreed?
Yeah,
Thank you. So the recommendation is,
So the recommendation is to approve the changes as proposed. May I ask if the motion also includes election of a chair? So is this a group to elect the chair and vice chair annually, and they may be an elected member or a member of the community?
Just a member of the committee, so it's
A member, any member of the group.
that would need to be decided at that meeting.
Yeah, but that's up to the group to
It's
decide,
up to
chair
the
will
group
be
to
a
decide.
member of the group.
Yeah.
as long as a report comes to us via that person, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Well, there's some very bright people from the,
I was going to say, if we've got people from the community who've got
Very
greater
bright people from the
expertise and they want to
community.
chair, then I don't.
I'll second that
So that's
proposal.
proposed, councillor Austin,
Yeah.
councillor Alban, all those in favour? Thank you. The next item is item 7, the Custom House Condition Inspection. To receive and note the quinquennial condition inspection of the Custom House and a supplementary report from Miss Elfidler, Town Clerk.
So the council previously approved the cost of a quinquennial inspection by the suitably qualified architect in Margate, and that report has now been received. The council has a full repairing lease on property, so it is in the council's interest to keep on top of work that needs to be undertaken. Within my report, I've picked out the urgent work requiring immediate attention and the repair work to be carried out in the next year. A couple of these items have already been tackled for one reason or another. And we're seeking quotes to undertake the rest of the work. Those quotes will be brought back to you for consideration. And members are asked to note this report at this time. The intention with a 5-year inspection is to be constantly keeping on top of things.
I believe we have a budget for this sort of work
Yeah.
already. But if we need more, I guess it would be a candidate for the,
Suppose we note the information, Chair.
Seconded.
need to get on with it. Is that agreed, Dan?
Agreed, Chair, agreed.
Thank you. We close the meeting. We're now going